What is something extremely unsanitary but everyone seems to do it anyways? Story 1. Attending a music festival without adequate porta potties. Went to one in Portland, and the area around the 8 porta potties was a literal lake of piss, about 6 inches deep. 8 porta potties for about 10,000 people, all tipsy and baked off their jerk. Answer: this happened at a festival that I attended in Maine in the late 90s. Not all of the lake was urine. I peed in a field of grass and felt very comfortable with my decision. I'm surprised that there wasn't an epidemic of gastrointestinal illness, but most people weren't using the internet then, so knowledge of such illness would not have been so widespread as it is now. Story 2. Bowling. We put our fingers in the dark, porous holes of ball that everyone uses. Then we eat nachos and wings and other finger foods. Story 3. I feel like I'm the only person I know who wipes down their steering wheel, levers, knobs, and handles regularly. Think about how many places you are going in and out of, then getting in your car and driving. Do this throughout the week, and these touch points get pretty germy. Story 4. Wearing your clothes out on the subway, work, restaurants, doctor's offices, etc., and then coming home and lounging in your bed sofa with those same clothes. Even worse, doing this with your shoes. Think about what's on the ground outside: spit, animal feces, spilled food, snot, blood, grease, gum, etc. Then you walk around your house with all that on your shoes. If you have kids and they play on the floor, as most do, you're exposing them to so much gunk. Just ooh. Answer: I was about 12 when this was first brought to my attention in the 90s. I was used to my family having parties, and everyone would put their coats on one of the beds in someone's bedroom. My aunt, who was a nurse, had a party, and she made everyone hang them up in a closet. When I questioned it, she explained to me the same thing. People riding public transportation and coming into contact with so much germs. Plus, coats aren't washed often. Story 5. Blowing out birthday candles on a cake that people then eat, especially if it's a child's birthday cake, because kids are little germ balls. I can't believe this still happened since COVID. Story 6. Drinking out of a can without rinsing off the top first, especially if the can was from a gas station or something. Story 7. Turning off the water after washing their hands without a paper towel in public bathrooms. Touching the same thing that their and everyone else's dirty, unwashed hands have touched. Story 8. At the convenience store or gas station ice drink dispenser, push their cup up around the spout so that when the cup fills up with whatever is being dispensed, the contents of the cup come into contact with the bottom of the spout. Story 9. Eating food from the open produce section of the grocery store, especially after it's been put on the conveyor belt and handed to you by the cashier, me. Pretty much every time I wash my hands at work, the water turns grimy and gray. Wash your fruits and veggies before eating them? Story 10. Washing chicken. Stop washing it. It doesn't do anything. Except for spread salmonella all over your sink. Stop it. Story 11. Not washing your hands. Not washing your hands long enough. Not washing your hands with soap. Not washing your hands after using the toilet. Not washing your hands after lifting the lid of a filthy dustbin. I guess just not washing your hands. Answer: during COVID, I had a chance to watch my clients have to wash their hands in my room before getting on my table. I never saw so many people just waste soap. They would pump soap into their hands and rinse it straight down the drain, even with all of the education at the time. Unreal. But then, I'd hand them a wipe for their phone, and they'd be all over that. Clearly, they didn't do it much. Story 12. Touching the public bathroom door handle after washing your hands. Grab it with a paper towel or some TP. Story 13. Bringing their phone to the toilet. Most people do it, and it's actually disgusting. And so many people don't wash their hands either. I've noticed when I use public restrooms, people just let the water run over their hands, no soap, 5 seconds, and they walk out. Story 14. A little bit of unsanitary is good for you because your body learns to fight it. So I think that people who take too many steps to be isolated is actually unsanitary because they will become sick more readily than normal and spread it to others. Answer. I have a theory that people who have a history of getting sick easily and are hit harder by illness tend to be more careful. They know they have weaker systems and have learned their lesson. My family are hardy people that don't mind germs. I was always sick as a kid, and on the rare occasions they got sick, they healed quickly. We were exposed to the same bugs as a family, but I was affected differently. As an adult, I keep my home clean and protect my environment. I tend to be cleaner than they are, and I no longer get sick as often. My source is wildly anecdotal, but I wonder if this is a universal experience. Story 15. Consuming beverages in restaurants, gas stations with ice. If you think ice machines get cleaned regularly, you'd be wrong. Story 16. Having children. That's 18 years of those filthy lil bastards running around your place spreading God knows what. Story 17. Trust me, guys, from someone that struggles with OCD, as much as I wish this wasn't the case, if you bring your focus and attention down to the minute and microscopic, there's not a thing on this earth that isn't dirty, gross, or contaminated in some way. It's one of those things where the less you know, the better. You don't want to go down this rabbit hole. Story 18. So many questions on this sub can be answered with the same thing: eating jerk. I don't even want to think about it. Story 19. Emptying the rented RV's poo tank, then placing the end of the waste drain hose over the fresh water spigot that the next person will probably drink from, in order to pretend to rinse it out, or clean it, and then drape those wastewater sewer hoses to dry across the top of the public picnic table that the next occupants will eat upon. Story 20. Using air dryers in public restrooms. Literally spews bacteria all over your hands. Using paper towels is way better. God forbid there is no paper towel dispenser. In that case, I just dry my hands on my clothes. Story 21. Touching the bottom of their shoes. It blows my mind how someone could not see how disgusting that is. You just walked out of a piss-soaked public restroom or whatever, and now you're pulling a rock out of the bottom of your shoe before you eat. Story 22. Breath. Every bit of air you breath is chock full of multiple bacteria, multiple viruses, lots and lots of mold spores, and tiny little pieces of dust, insect parts, pieces of human and animal hair, floating dead skin cells for everyone about you, etc. Now, breath in really deep and enjoy natural life. Story 23. Letting their cats walk all over the countertop. My cat had radioactive iodine treatment for hyperthyroidism, and one of the big things risks afterwards was that his urine and feces were radioactive for a month after treatment, so we had to very carefully clean his litter, keep it all separate from the other cat. The biggest thing they stressed, though, was to keep him off the counters, because cats track waste particulate where they walk, and if they're walking where we prepare food, we're inevitably going to eat it. Story 24. Blowing out birthday candles on a cake, then everyone eats the spit-glazed slice of joy like it's normal. And yes, we smile while chewing it. Story 25. Talking a deep breath and blowing as hard as they can all over food that others are about to eat. I'm talking about birthday cake candles. Story 26. Sharing glass pieces when smoking plant substance, sharing bills or other sniffing paraphernalia, even joints or blunts, still most in the lip potion from the person prior. But really, smoking a bowl or bong with strangers is asking for a cold sore. And finally, allowing men, MF, so I can only speak from a female background, to stick their hand inside your female body part without washing them prior. That can throw your pH balance way off and give you an infection, just due to pure dirt and grime under unwashed fingernails. Story 27. Touching door handles with bare hands, especially businesses like gas stations. Pull your sleeve over your hand. Story 28. Sharing keyboards. They are almost never sanitized as you can't get them wet without disassembling. First, I had an old one that I would take apart and wash all keycaps in soapy water, but it was a hassle. And since people like to eat snack, then lick their fingers, and just go back typing, it can get icky real fast. Story 29. Coming from a man, pissing while standing. Of course, we all agree that we have perfect aim and we are not missing a single drop, but they're tiny droplets flying sideways and also backsplash from hitting the bowl. I once saw a little experiment thingy where they simulated this with colored water and white paper laid out, and I was so disgusted I immediately became a sit pisser. Story 30. Using the big screens in fast food restaurants and the eating the food you ordered, either them with bare hands. Story 31. Wiping their male body part after peeing, like 90 of men don't do that. You will get pee in your boxers even if you shake the drops off. Story 32. Using the same blood pressure cuff from sick patient to patient without cleaning. I never could understand why this is common practice. Answer: because we don't spread or absorb a lot of bacteria through our arms. There are no mucous membranes, and we don't breathe through them. You're unlikely to accidentally lick your upper arm. The kind of bacteria that hangs out on intact skin is just generally not likely to cause any problems sitting around on someone else's intact skin. If the patient has ringworm or something, then you've got a point. Story 33. Put their mouth on canned drinks that can is just exposed to the world, and you have no idea where it's been or what's touched it. I'm scarred by the story of the lady who got sick from drinking out of a can that had rat urine on it. I always use a straw to drink out of cans. Story 34. Rarely changing pillowcases. We shed skin cells, transfer oils from our heads, drool, and even sometimes get blood or snot on them and lay on them night after night. We should use one side, flip the pillow for the next night, then change the case to start that process over again so we have a clean surface every night. Story 35. Buffets. I am actually seeing a trend in cafes here recently of leaving cakes exposed on countertops as well for each and every customer to breathe on it. Seems nothing was learned from a worldwide pandemic. Story 36. Using the tongs in a buffet. Those tongs had everyone's hands on them. I use a napkin, or just grab my one piece of whatever on the sly using my hands and not touching any of the others. Story 37. Shaking hands. This is the hand that I use to self-care and hold the paper that wipes my jerk. Want to touch it? Story 38. I work at a gas station, in the grill. People will use the bathroom, take the smelliest shoot of their life, and then walk right on out without using either the hand sanitizer or sinks. Then they'll start browsing stuff and touching everything, including the grill order kiosks. I wipe them down every hour these days. Story 39. Lick their fingertips before touching stuff. It's to make their fingertips sticky. Fudge gross. And it's always old people. Story 40. Not washing their hands, not understanding why they wear protective gloves and how to handle them. Example. Person takes your money with a glove on and then touches your food with the same glove. Second example. Wearing gloves because someone needs to search a bag and then they touch their own face or phone and touch everything with that dirty gloves. People can't grasp that bacteria and dirt doesn't stay in its origin place. People really only believe what they can see and touch. Bacteria exists. XD. Story 41. Obsessively avoiding germs and disinfecting everything, including your own skin, is unsanitary in the sense of not being conducive to health. Your immune system needs practice. Digging in the dirt, good for your gut microbiome. Too much hand sanitizer, or maybe any mouthwash, is bad for it. Kids who grow up with dogs are less likely to develop asthma or allergies. Some flight attendants and kindergarten teachers, other workers who are in close contact with lots of people and their germs, say they gain super immunity from things like colds after a couple of years on the job. Even gnarly things like intestinal worms. Other parasites can have health benefits like improved fertility and reduced allergies, maybe because our ancestors co-evolved with them for eons before we started being picky about not wanting to be infected with worms. Hey. Anyway, yeah, probably wash your hands after you use the toilet and such, but don't get too obsessive about your whole world being operating room clean. It might be bad for you. Story 42. I have a few. 1. Not washing their hands after touching money. 2. Not washing hands after going out and touching multiple doorknobs handles. 3. Eating food that they've dropped onto their phone. 3. Letting cats and other pets onto kitchen counters and then still eating off of them. Story 43. Not washing hands enough. The shoot I see people touch, whether it be unsanitary or chemicals, and then go about their day is insane. Story 44. For any gender, not washing your hands after using the toilet IDC. If you only took a piss, you still touch the flush button and possibly the seat. At least use fucking sanitizer. Story 45. Handling their phones while eating. Cell phones are usually overlooked when it comes to cleaning and sanitizing. Same with doorknobs and handles. Story 46. 1. Touching gas pump handles without a glove hand sanitizer hand washing. After 2. Thinking that hand sanitizer replaces hand washing. Ever since I learned hand sanitizer doesn't work on norovirus, I literally take gloves for dirty public tasks. I keep a gardening glove with a rubber front in my car for the express purpose of pumping gas. And for the people saying that closing the toilet lid doesn't help prevent germ spread in the bathroom. Go ahead and flush with your face above that toilet, and tell me that you would rather not put the lid down. It doesn't prevent all bacteria spread in the toilet plume, but the lid down reduces the droplets and points the suspended particles and tiny droplets down so they hit the wall or floor instead of floating around or shooting over to your toothbrush. Story 47. Not washing your hands before you go to the bathroom. So all the germs and dirt on your hands are still there when you pull your pants down or unzip. Disgusting. Wash before and after. It takes seconds. Story 48. Pick mix sweets. You can't convince me that people haven't been sticking their dirty hands in there. Sealed items for me only. Also, my stepmom used to work at a shop that has a bakery bit. She always said she'd never buy the bakery items because of the amount of employees who don't wash their hands. Gloves weren't required, which is wild to me in of itself. Story 49. Not washing their hands before eating finger food. After taking microbiology and seeing the creepy bugs crawling around on our hands under a microscope, I scrub my hands well before eating. Story 50. Handling their phones without sanitizing them. If people are holding their phones all day, then it's collecting all the bacteria and viruses they've come in contact with. I wipe it down with sanitizer every day. Even then, I'm sure it still has contamination, but it's something. Story 51. You've been stuck in traffic for 7 hours. Beyond desperation for a number 2, you've eaten a warm, out-of-date pepperami from the glove box. You finally get to a service station. You run while trying to clench your cheeks together. All but one cubicle is out of order. You do your checks. The seat has a selection of curly hairs of different colors, a sprinkling of yellow liquid, and a go faster stripe up the rim. More importantly, 3 solitary transparent sheets of the lowest quality poop paper since lockdown. You have no choice. You have 10 seconds to avoid soiling yourself with a pepperami punarmi. You sit, you finish, you wipe. Maybe you cry a little, you leave. You avoid all eye contact with the man walking in with his sons, while they all shout, "Daddy, I need a poo." Making a mental note to never visit the services again. Later that day, as you bin your pants, you lie to your spouse. Yes, the trip was okay, no issues. Or it might just have been me. Story 52. People who put their cash in their bras and shoes, especially during the summer months. I had no idea this was a thing until I walked into a gas station. There was a sign refusing service for it. I had to ask the cashier if that was really a thing. She said you wouldn't believe the amount of people who pull their sweaty money out from their bras and shoes, then try to give it to her like it was no big deal. Story 53. Holding the gas station pump with bare hands. It has been handled by God only knows how many people, and people are nasty. No, I use gloves to handle it each and every time. Story 54. Sharing drinks with friends and family. We all know it spreads germs, but when someone offers you a sip of their amazing smoothie or cocktail, you're gonna take it. Story 55. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and disregard this entire thread. Being a germaphobe sounds like a lot of unnecessary stress. Story 56. Eat jerk. My lord, the deification of the ring of Uranus. Adult beverage doesn't help, or does, I am told, to myself after 4 non-alcoholic drinks, regularly. Story 57. Eat in public without cleansing your hands. I have little spray bottles of rubbing adult beverage everywhere. In my purse, in my car, in my gym bag, in every room of my house. I'm immunocompromised and am not going to get COVID again from eating crab rangoon like a goblin in my car outside a dive bar. Yes, that's how it happened the first time. Story 58. When a parent has their baby or toddler in a store or restaurant and sets them down in a counter or table, that kid's got pee or poo and maybe a leaky diaper. It disgusts me every time. Story 59. Pet dogs? Let dogs lick them. Let dogs in the house. I think it's absolutely bonkers that people do this. I mean, dogs eat and sniff excrement. Story 60. Toilet paper. Like that gets anything done. If there was a piece of turd literally anywhere else on your body, I double dare you to wipe it off with toilet paper and call it good. Dirty, unsanitary, and uncivilized. Ew. Story 61. I feel like putting things in our mouths that we don't wash is unsanitary, like cans of soda, plastic utensils, things like that. We don't know where any of that stuff was or what has touched it. Story 62. Drinking straight from cans. Engel, I do it too sometimes. but seeing how many people cough in their palms, dig in their nostrils, and then proceed to intimately caress the cans in grocery stores right around the opening is off-putting. I'd like to believe it builds up immunity. Story 63. Shoot park bathrooms. I'm not talking porta potties. I'm talking holes that lead into a literal pit full of people's excrement, bugs everywhere. There's usually never any soap. Yet people use them all the time, some without complaint. I just want to grab them by their shoulders and tell them that they are literally putting an open part of their body on a pit of shoot. They need to make laws against that kind of thing. Story 64. Setting your dirty jerk bags on your hotel bed, kitchen counters, etc. You just lugged that bag through an airport plane and then set it on your bed? The fudge. Story 65. When I see a door handle with the paint worn down from where it's touched the most, I avoid that area. Doorknobs handled are a universal vector. Story 66. Putting their phones down in random places. Bathrooms, toilet rooms, counters, floors, etc. I wonder if we were also forced to disinfect our phones with COVID, would it have spread rapidly? Unpopular opinion, but a thought nonetheless. Story 67. Getting fingered. Add insult to injury if he's blue-collar thinks washing hands is for pussies. Ironically enough. Story 68. Using the milk or cream dispenser at a corner store. I don't use it because whatever gooey milk residue build up is left on the nozzle ain't going into my coffee. Story 69. Use tongs in a buffet to serve yourself food you will eat with your hands. Just grab your muffin with your hand. No need for everyone to touch the same utensil right before touching their food. Story 70. One-night stands making out with strangers at a bar. I stopped watching Love Island because it was just so gross. Story 71. I don't like seeing someone blow their nose out in public, like on the go. If I blow my nose, I need to be at home so I can wash my hands and wash my face. You have snot juice everywhere. Story 72. 50% of you flushing the toilet without putting the seat down. It's disgusting. Pee volcano, or worse. Story 73. Chucking a vape in your handbag or pocket, then fumbling for it with dirty hands and sucking on it and then chucking it back in. Story 74. In a number of tests, going barefoot or wearing house slippers and even having separate bathroom slippers actually tracks more harmful bacteria and fecal matter from bathrooms and pets that we come into contact with. Shoes do track in dirt and bacteria, but contrary to a lot of beliefs, it is less common for harmful bacteria and pathogens that has been exposed and eliminate outdoors to various degrees of sunlight to come into contact and cause illness. Both arguments have areas that are unsanitary, and the key is frequent cleansing of bacteria, especially around bathrooms and floors. The argument that a bathroom slipper is cleanly is wrong if the slipper sits there and collects bacteria. The way most bacteria spreads in bathrooms is in the air during flushing and washing hands, so a pair of slippers sitting at the doorway is just collecting bacteria. Story 75. People talk at the table while the olives lay there in a small plate, and people spit tiny droplets, sneeze, flies fly by. People use hands and touch olives they're not taking out. Good God. Story 76. Having your toothbrush on the sink next to the toilet. All those air particles from everyone's waste and flush toilet floating around and landing on your bristles. Then you put that in your mouth. Edit. In addition, smelling other people's business. You are inhaling other people's poop particles. You are very welcome for that thought. Not sure where this anxiety came from as a teenager, but it stuck with me. Story 77. Using those air hand dryers at public restrooms. I read somewhere that it actually blows a lot of bacteria and germs onto your hands. Story 78. Washing your hands but never washing your phone or wallet, touching those things, and eating with your hands. Story 79. People touching chair and don't wash their hands. Yes, when you pull out a chair, you touch on a place that thousands of people have already touched and almost never get clean. Story 80. Dropping things on the floor and just picking it up without cleaning it properly, such as phones and other objects, especially in public places where countless shoes have tread upon. Dust, dirt, bacteria, viruses, bodily fluids, and who knows what else may now be on that object and then your hands and such. Story 81. My Virgo placements won't even let me read these responses. I'm dying of curiosity, but I can't handle the germ quotient and horror tales got a dip. Story 82. When someone eats food with their hands and use their phone straight away, not wash them, it's nasty ASF. Story 83. Not washing their hands after a bathroom visit. I'm a cleaning lady. A time back I was doing my job and cleaned a toilet that had its own sink. I was finished cleaning all.